All right, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, continuing to pick apart Raw, SmackDown, the PLEs that's going on, specifically Night of Champions. We have, I would say, a fair amount to get to. Definitely, I feel like there's going to be more thoughts on this podcast than really depth of the match, just because there's a lot of things that I feel like the fans kind of missed out on. Um, Now, and I think I misspoke last week in regards to um, Goldberg and Gunther match being at Night of Champions. It's actually a Saturday Night Main Event, which I thought this would have been if they were going to put in any non-title match. I feel like this would have made more sense, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Um, so Raw obviously kicks out. Seth Rollins continuing to basically push his agenda. Him, and I quote, basically he's playing chess while everybody's playing checkers, and to a certain extent, Seth Rollins does have a point that he is the architect. He is a revolutionary. I mean, and so I feel like this group definitely, I feel like we'll be together for a while. Um, Definitely pushing the Seth Rollins agenda with the wise man, and they still call him the wise man, which I mean, I guess I don't know what you would ever call him because he's not an advocate. He's, I guess they just stole the wise man. Um, but I hope that they put some championships on these guys sooner rather than later. I feel like it would be exciting to see them as tag team champions because they would have those for a while. And I feel like it would be believable having the Spear and the Tsunami as your champions. So I I'm waiting for them to truly pull the trigger on these guys. It doesn't they just seem to be chatting at this point. They're not interjecting themselves in any stories. They're just kind of, I guess, giving context to their story, I guess. And you know, I hope we get something from these guys in the near future. Because I need to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
I totally
So,
agree.
um, so the first match was Braun Breaker versus Penta. Braun Breaker getting the best of him, but obviously with outside interference in typical fashion. And again, I say, can we have clean matches?
no, because they
I
want to
don't see
push
that
this
happening.
heel faction, and that's a classic WWE recipe or trope where it's like the heels when they want to make a major heels, they always have to have the double team, the triple team on top of the baby face so the baby face can get that pop when he shows up, but it's always going to be like that. They're never going to have like really clean finishes unless it's like a pay-per-view or PLE. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's unfortunate, and I feel like, I mean, and it plays into the storyline. It's just that story's been read a million times, and dare to surprise me of having a clean match. And it's not like they don't have clean matches. It's just when they're pushing the agenda of the heel factions, they really just overdo it. Because Judgment Day
Boy,
is so beyond obnoxious.
it's getting boring.
So yeah,
yeah,
I kind of
it
see they
might be.
finally brung the PlayStation back. They got that in the background again.
oh yeah,
Maybe Carlito mailed it back to him.
Probably. I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
that's pretty much it too. Um, so we have the semifinal match between Jade Cargill and Roxanne Perez. Um, Good match. Obviously Jade was going to win this. This was, a little bit of a predictable match setup. Just because now that Jade has come back and everything, they're shoving her down our throats, but it's okay because it's Jade Cargill. She's a draw. She's a pull. So I'm okay with
She gets people
that.
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
and she's really working on her craft. She's really improved. So yeah, I mean, if she,
Say her in ring stuff is getting a little bit better.
yeah. So, yep. Um, yeah.
So we get Becky Lynch versus Bailey for the Intercontinental Championship, and I don't like that Lara Valkyria interjected herself. I thought this was kind of a clash of titans between Bailey and Becky Lynch, and I feel like Lyra getting tossed in to basically interfere in this match. I mean, obviously, it's a trope to basically get us to have a triple threat, but they could be a little less obvious about it.
Yeah.
You know, if it was like a situation where Lyra goes in and beats Bailey or something, and then they all stake claim to the IC title, I would see that angle being more sensible. But obviously, it's the trope of the century to do what they did. And obviously, them working towards Evolution, I believe, is in 2 weeks. So, I mean, that's only fitting for them to do that.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but it seems to be WWE is stacking so many PLEs. I wish they would space them out and tell more stories versus basically once a month having a PLE. You know, cutting out the nonsensical PLEs and let's have like PLEs get worked towards more, more stories of the matchup, stuff like that. But now it's like we're getting PLEs once a month, or at least once every like 5 to 6 weeks, and it almost it's too much.
I think it's just WWE trying to get and make as much money and push out as much content that they can license and that people would be interested in as they possibly can. They are a media a media machine. But I think that the product overall, if you're really looking for like the drama,
Right.
is not as sharp. And it could be just those ebbs and flows that we've talked about before, where it's just, this is, you can't have everything that you want when you want it, or you won't watch. So they've got to drag it out. So, we're probably going through a low season. And if we were to look back at previous podcasts that we've done, we could probably see us commenting about the same time about the same thing. So we can start to see a pattern there. But nonetheless, I think we could do with less PLEs, or we can do with more PLEs or the same number of PLEs, but they were more brand specific. Like if SmackDown had a couple of PLEs and then Raw had a couple of PLEs,
Yeah.
that would be fine with me. Then we can start talking about seasons, but that's for another
That's what
topic.
they used to do back when they first did the brand switch. They had SmackDown will have their pay-per-view, and then like 2 weeks later it'll be a Raw's pay-per-view for just the Raw
Well,
brand.
and
And they had each referee had their referee outfit for whatever brand they were for.
yeah, it's if they told better stories and didn't have things so rushed. And they have a Raw, they have a SmackDown, they have house shows. I feel like the stories just aren't there. They're very rushed. Like we're talking beforehand with the CM Punk John Cena thing. It was just tossed in there just because there was history, but they didn't let the story really fume. They didn't.
I wonder how much of that was a push from the Saudi Arabian government entertainment arm to say like, hey, is CM Punk going to be part of this? People want to see CM Punk, and I think we can talk about that, later, but I wonder if the story got rushed because of that, because it would be such a big thing to have
Yeah.
CM Punk and John Cena at that show. So I wonder if the story got rushed because of that.
Well, and I think the Saudi shows are basically fan favorites, anyways, just because they're the ones that, are paying us a lot of money.
Oh yeah, big
So I
bucks.
think in the sense of, and which is why I thought they would have put Gunther and, Goldberg on that card, which, they've done that in the past where they bring back legends to the Saudi shows because that's what the Saudis want. But I mean, it is what it is. But so we have Cody Rhodes facing off with Jey Uso in the semifinals, and man, what a good match.
That was an awesome match. I'm gonna say that's a 5-star match.
Yeah. I think it gives the truth to the moniker main event Jey Uso. I know we've wrestled with that moniker for for a long time, but I think I'm starting to come around to understanding why they have it monikered like that, because he puts on absolute banger matches. So obviously Cody comes out on top on that, but no shame, someone had to win.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the story, when the story was there, and the story was told, the story was finished, and at the end of it, we're still good, So so SmackDown, we get, this face off between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, which is the final of the King of the Ring. Man, I tell you, Cody's talking less and less. And it was very interesting to basically just, this again the storytelling, as the student versus the teacher. Definitely some good exchange. I know Randy's still chasing his number 15, and I wish they would pull the trigger on this at
Same
some
here.
point.
I think that they will, but
I'm
It's
still
just
I'm
gonna
still
take time.
think it's gonna be for Cena's last match. I think it's gonna be Cena and Orton.
Mm,
I mean, I would say that's probably in the top 3 possibilities. But obviously, if we've already checked off the CM Punk thing, so now we're down to 2, which, I mean, Randy Orton, John Cena, and I don't really know what the final would be. I think kind of an interesting one would be him and Kevin Owens. Obviously, Kevin Owens is out with extreme injuries, so I don't see Kevin
yeah.
Owens by
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
November,
Kevin. Yeah.
December.
Let's
Oh
say
no, I don't see Kevin Owens coming back till next year.
I watched his broadcast. I watched the broadcast
Mm-hmm.
with him and Cody.
Yeah.
And Cody asked him how he's doing about his surgery, if he had it yet. He said that they haven't had it yet. They're letting his spine get a little bit better before they do his surgery. And plus, for out of the people, for Cena's had great rivalries with people in the past, like one with CM Punk, Randy Orton. He had a good one with Triple H. Well, we know Triple H can't wrestle because of his heart. He had good ones with The Undertaker. I don't see him coming back because I saw that Undertaker had a open heart surgery.
Yeah,
that I read.
He won't be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to try to figure out, given all the injuries and everything, that what John Cena's final match would be.
He doesn't
Maybe
even know.
it's they're plagued with a lot of injuries. They've released a lot of good people, and so I unfortunately think his final match will be nonchalant. I don't. I feel like unless we get some people back, maybe they create something with the Wyatt Six.
I don't. I don't think they'll do. I don't think they'll do anything with the Wyatt Six. I don't think there's anybody in that group that's worthy or that WWE sees as a main eventer, like a singles main eventer. There's no one in that group that comes to mind. What I would like to see if we were to fantasy book really quick, I would like to see a Sami Zayn John Cena match. Yeah, give me that. Give me a
I
Kane.
say that or another run with R-Truth.
Another, yep, running back with R-Truth. I wouldn't mind R-Truth just being a jerk to John Cena every time he shows up. We get Ron Killings. Yeah, just I wouldn't
John
mind that. Yeah, just what?
I would not be mad.
Nope.
I think that this continued where's John Cena,
get out here, John Cena. I want you now.
I love it for R-Truth just because now it's like you're getting the unhinged Ron Killings. You're not getting R-Truth.
Right.
And I love that. Like maybe he just chases him to the end.
I think he will.
He's just gonna chase him till the end, and maybe he finally pisses John Cena off enough for him to actually put his title on the line, and maybe at the end of his career, we see Ron Killings defeat John Cena for the title. That would be on like
epic.
That would be like in my top 2 things I want to see at the end of John Cena's career. I want him to lose at the end, period. But it's a matter of who he loses to, because Sami Zayn would be a good one because he hasn't captured that championship yet. It'd be great for Ron Killings because he hasn't captured that yet either. So Ron Killings, Sami Zayn, I don't care. I'm here for it.
I also wouldn't mind an unusual suspect for John Cena to have, even if it's weekly programs with, with a Carmelo Hayes, with an Obafemi. He goes to NXT for some reason, and he just is a jerk in NXT. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even mind him having beef with Logan Paul. Logan Paul could put on, with enough time, Logan Paul could put on a very good match with John Cena.
I mean,
so there's a lot of there's a lot of names that could be thrown that way, but Carmelo Hayes is on top of that. Even and Andrade could be a top 5 name with that, but
the list is truly endless, honestly.
Yep.
I feel like anybody has can stake a claim to be the last person that beats John Cena.
Yeah.
So, I love the possibilities.
Same.
So we have JC Mateo versus Jimmy Uso. Obviously we knew what was going to happen in this match. Obviously JC Mateo winning against Jimmy Uso really was pretty obvious, but I love this subtle thing between Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso right now. It's very subtle, but I feel like there can be something to this, just because if anybody knows about the numbers game, it's Jimmy Uso. So I think maybe him and Jacob getting together in some way, honestly, maybe even Jey Uso, maybe we get the Usos and Jacob Fatu together, not even necessarily in anybody being the leader of the group role, but just them 3 being together. Just family being together once again, but not labeling it bloodline or anything like that.
No, plus on top of it, you had Umaga's son tweeted out to Jacob, say, "I'm a phone call away."
Yeah.
The
bloodline is freaking deep, man.
You know what? Just Zilla Fatu's just his ability. If we can just take a moment, I don't see him getting called into WWE officially this year, but I can see him making his debut within the next
I would
year and a
I would
half.
say if he does make his debut, I would say maybe next year's Royal Rumble.
That I think that would be pushing it, but yeah, I would say no later than next year, like the end by the end of next year, he's there. There's just he's getting his personal life together. From a couple of videos that I've seen, his in ring is improving, his attitude
it's
is improving.
definitely.
So yeah, I if not this year, sometime next year, that we are talking about him. When is he showing up because he's signed to WWE?
Yeah, this is
yeah.
like you're saying, his ring in his performance in the ring is great. I've been watching a lot of his mic skills are getting great.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly getting there, but
Well,
he's been
I mean,
holding some big titles in some of these companies that indies companies he's in, and he's doing great. He's having big matches
I
with some former WWE superstars.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I definitely, think that, maybe starting in NXT, obviously they're gonna push him on the main roster. I mean, it's a shoo-in.
Yeah,
But
we all know
like
that.
I think it would do anybody and would do some good to be in NXT, even if it's for a hot second. I would love to see, Zilla Obafemi, like, no, just meat.
Yeah.
No bread, no water, just meat. Like because I don't see anybody honestly in NXT right now defeating Obafemi anytime soon. Like, the dude's on an absolute tear, and it doesn't matter who they put up against him, even if it's from TNA, whatever else that they've brought in. But side note, I do not like Trick Williams being TNA champion because he's basically refusing to be on anything but a PLE for TNA as the champion. But I digress. That's just my sidebar. But so we get Julia versus Zelina Vega for the Women's United States Championship match. This match was too rushed. I hope it wasn't an injury or something, but it was a very quick match. Could not have been more than 10 minutes, if that. And honestly, Julia coming out on top, beating Zelina Vega. I'm happy for Julia basically getting this push. I feel like I've said before, is that you need big names to push these secondary titles. And I'm sorry, Julie is a bigger pull than Zelina Vega, just because she's an international superstar. And I think her being champion is going to help with that. Zelina Vega was a good placeholder. Unfortunately, she got, a handful of weeks as champion, and losing it, but it's not like you didn't lose it to someone good. It wasn't like some nobody. It wasn't like Maxine Dupree or something. So 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 you lost it to top tier, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we get this confrontation between Jade and Naomi, and basically her, counting down the days. Yeah, just wait. As far as Naomi cashing in, I love her ring gear, saying Miss Money in the Bank on it and everything else. I love her grit. I love her tenacity. Man, I can't wait till
I
she
love her
cashes
fucking
in.
entrance music.
I can't wait till she cashes in. But I really want them to drag this out on the men's and the women's side. I want this to not happen on a Raw. I would prefer it happen on a Raw or SmackDown, just because it would be more unpredictable. But I think we'll get it at a PLE. But we'll see. So DIY, this whole mess and back talking, and basically Andrade has to find a partner as they do so many times. Obviously, he gets a partner in Ray Phoenix. They defeat DIY, and honestly, just a good straight up match. I feel like it's good to have good tag teams in the mid card. It was just a good straight up match, and DIY. I feel like is when they were getting pushed, into being champions and everything. Like they were good. It was a good story, but I feel like the men's tag team division is flooded. And not in the sense of like there's too many. It's just like they're trying to tell too many stories between tag teams that have nothing to do with winning championships.
Mm.
And so like I know, between the Street Profits on one side and who was even we got Street Profits as SmackDown and Raw is
Judgment Day,
though they're
Alpha
going
Academy.
who the
Who
heck is
else?
holding the freaking Raw Tag
New
Team
Day.
Champion?
New
New
Day.
Day. Okay.
Um,
So yeah, I'm waiting for someone to knock New Day down a couple pegs.
I don't think that's happening anytime soon because they're just like New Day's really reinvented themselves, and it's like, do I want to see them jovial and happy? No, but maybe this is their version of what the Street Profits had to do to kind of turn that corner to make themselves more interesting. Yeah, it came at the cost of losing Big E and going to a two-man group, which I think is stupid. But at the same time, they're reinventing themselves, and I think I'm starting to warm up to them reinventing themselves in this fashion. It's just unfortunate that we had to lose Big E in the process.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it sucks. It really does. I feel like Big E was like the piece that held the puzzle together that
Pretty
is the
much.
New Day. And it sucks, but it's the nature of the business. I wish they, would have kept him around in a managerial.
Yeah, because it
So it
would
kept
have
him on
been,
TV.
if we were to like redo that story, I would have said like, hey, as as Triple H, long as you're not taking a bump, getting involved, you're sitting on commentary in a managerial role, yeah, let's do it. And you could be the lovable yet heelish mouthpiece for the New Day.
Right.
Like a la Bobby the Brain Heenan, who, by the way, was always right about Terry Bolla. And that's all I'll say.
Not wrong. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But again, it does play to the heelish persona how they did Big E, and if
Yeah.
they're gonna push themselves where they are now, that has to come at the cost of Big E. Unfortunately, even though obviously he did have a real life injury,
And he's still
he-
absolutely a national treasure. I
yeah,
still love him. I still, hopefully there's someday that we may get one more Big E match. It can be a 5-minute meat on meat banger. And
meat.
that would be amazing for him to go out in that way. But you know what? He's still alive. He's still
Right.
mobile. So yeah, let's keep
We
it
still
up.
get the
So
voice of Big E. We don't
yeah,
get the wrestling of
yeah.
Big E, but all good. But
He might.
so
He has just have to wait some time. He might come back, but I think
yeah,
he just prefers doing what he does now.
yeah.
Yeah, especially if it keeps him from being injured. And yeah,
So Ron Killings has basically been on a rampage in the search for John Cena. He interrupts Aleister Black in a backstage segment, and later in the show, he basically comes out and he's calling out John Cena, blah blah blah. And I hope that they do something with Ron Killings and Aleister Black.
Oh, they definitely will.
I feel like there's definitely a lot there to work with, being that he's interrupted Aleister Black on numerous occasions. Obviously, giving him, the Black Mass again. So I feel like there could at least be something there, on the way to Ron Killings doing whatever Ron Killings wants to do in regards to John Cena. We'll wait and see, I guess. But so we're supposed to have Street Profits versus Wyatt Six, and Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy. And because there's just like a childish amount of drama in the men's tag team division on SmackDown, they interrupt the match. It's just all chaos, all nonsense, and it's just stupid. It's like middle school drama.
Pretty much.
It's like the men's teen division on SmackDown. I feel like Raw is a little bit different than the SmackDown because it's a lot of up and comers on SmackDown, and it's just childish. Let's just let them just have a freaking match, and you can do whatever you want after the match. Like, it was unnecessary, is what it was. Like, everybody's beef with the Wyatt Six is so deep that they would ruin a title match just to get their hands and feet on the Wyatt Six. But I feel like eventually we're going to get Wyatt Six as champions.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a pissed off Eric Rowan. We're going to get a pissed off Uncle Howdy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that would be great for television, just because we need some better actors as far as our tag team champions. Because really, the Street Profits, I mean, it was cool for a little bit when they were kind of breaking into this heelish, hey, you forgot about us, but we're still here kind of mentality. But I definitely want some better matchups than just the whole division just coming out and interrupting matches.
I think it's okay, especially if we're in a lull between stories where they're just like these fillers where it's just getting us to week, because it could be something else that we hate. And I'm sitting here trying to think as you're like explaining it, Seth. I'm thinking here, like, what kind of other filler has WWE used besides interrupting a match? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's if it's not an interruption, it's like the blatant DQ by the heel champions or whatever have you, or something like that.
It's just there's a handful of tropes that they continue to like reuse and recycle, and it would, especially in the tag team division, it's like, there's a lot of teams fighting for certain things. Then put them all in a match, and then have a number one contender, and let that match happen. Let it be a match, win, lose, or draw. But like, let's just have some decent matches. Like, let's have, the Wyatt Six essentially earned their championship shot, so they went and took it, and then everybody else ruined it for them. And it's like, man, come on. It's so overplayed, this whole scenario.
So
I think they're just trying to make a big giant feud on SmackDown with all the men's tag team. I think some shape or form something big is going to come out of it. Hopefully something good.
I mean, it's been like a fatal 4-way freaking for the titles or something, but
we can also think about it as like the Wyatt Six actually started this, in the sense of they were showing up, being an absolute nuisance. So if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. So maybe that's the story. It's like, what's good
Yeah,
for you,
I could
good
see
for me,
that.
it's good for you.
I mean, but like that whole thing was 6 months ago, and I get the whole getting their comeuppance, I guess you could say, but it's like earn your title match.
And they did, but at the same time, it was like how many times did the White Six interrupt a a title match because they felt like they were being overlooked,
Right.
from their like online promos and secret videos that they have to decipher with a Jack in the Box toy or something like that. I mean, I just
Yeah,
know so
it's
Hey, I love those videos.
I mean, you know what?
They're
I'm not
great.
I am not the demographic. Tell me, tell me what you want on a sticky note so I can see clearly what you're
right.
trying to do.
Yeah.
You
So we get basically another run back between Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax in a last
Mhm.
woman standing match. Um, at the end of all of this, I mean,
It
it was a good match.
it was okay.
Um, but obviously
What?
the interruption of Naomi attemptively cashing in, and then all in all, the briefcase getting hit against Nia Jax,
You
and
know,
getting the 10 count.
you know,
Um,
I like Nia Jax. I mean, Naomi. Sorry, Naomi. Being an absolute nuisance. you know, she probably knew. Like,
Hey,
I'm not gonna cash in.
she's doing everything that every other female and
Yep,
male superstar has done with that briefcase.
exactly.
yeah.
So her just being a menace, being a nuisance.
She's
Yeah.
just making it known I'm here. Hey,
Yep.
I am not going anywheres.
Yep.
And that's the thing is that like I've said before, this is the best Naomi we've ever seen.
Right.
Hands down.
And so like to let her just cook, let her unleash whatever she needs to unleash. She's Miss Money in the Bank, so she can do whatever the hell she wants, whenever
Yep.
she wants. And so I really think that her cash in will be the best woman's cash in of all time, or at least of
I
current.
I
All
would
right.
not mind her cash in looking like Seth Rollins' first cash in with the Money in the Bank, where it's just heist of the century, like you did not expect it. And I would absolutely love to see something like that, where it's just shock and awe, where she's like, yo. And I would also, just as a add on to that, I'd like to see Seth Rollins fail a cash in against John Cena.
Well, and
I would like to see that too.
Yeah.
so I don't know if you guys caught the implications of winning King and Queen of the Ring. Now the stupid thing about it is that it's not a champion of your choosing. It is a champion of your respected brand.
Yep.
And
Fine.
that's dumb. I
No,
feel like it should be whoever champion you want to face at SummerSlam.
no,
let it.
because that's what happens at the Royal Rumble. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets to choose who they go after. And then for King and Queen of the Ring, I think whatever brand you represent, you should get to challenge them based on your brand, because then that separates those two stipulations. If you win Royal Rumble, you get to choose because the next major pay-per-view or PLE is WrestleMania. If you win King of the Ring, which only happens once every couple of years, it seems like, whatever brand you represent, you then get a title shot. And I don't think the last King of the Ring champions got that opportunity. So yeah, I'm okay
No,
with that
no,
I
no,
think
no,
stipulation.
no.
they did.
The last one, they did get that. They went after the same brand, whatever brand they were on.
Okay.
It's like
mean,
with the Money in the Bank briefcases, they were in the past they were allowed to go on whatever brand and go after whatever title they wanted, but now they're forcing it to be just the brand that they're on.
And having that separation, I think makes, depending which winner it is and for which story, I think having that separation works. I don't want to see it where, anyone, if you won King of the Ring or you won the Royal Rumble, anybody can choose, because now you've got potentially setting up to be like a triple threat match for someone, a champion's title, and then you've got Money in the Bank. So it could be a fatal four-way. So then it gets really confusing. Now you're having like this multiverse of stories effects. It's like everybody's coming in after John Cena. Well, I won the Royal Rumble. I've got Money in the Bank. I'm King of the Ring. It's like, John Cena's now got to fight 3 and defend his championship. That sounds like actually a great idea. Now that I say it, just to like stack the deck to prove that he's the greatest of all time if he wanted to, but they should have planned that last year. So I think going forward, having that separation is a good limit on storylines, because then it focuses you to having the attention on the star or babyface that you want to bring up at that time to get them over.
Well, I could totally agree.
Yeah.
Seth,
So
I know you don't like it, but I want to know, like, what would be your alternative?
I mean, if they're gonna run it a certain way, at least be consistent.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Agree with that.
and I think Money in the Bank should be whoever the freaking hell they want, honestly, because I feel like with that, the other both champions should be freaking worried, versus only one.
So would you want to see at Saturday Night Main Event Seth Rollins showing up for the Goldberg and Gunther match? Because that could be fun. That really could be fun, in the sense of Seth Rollins cashing in and taking a spear and getting beat by Goldberg. That could be fun. I mean, if we think about it, that could be.
I don't, as I say, I don't see Goldberg winning the title, because that he wants that to be his last match.
I mean, Goldberg is anything short of a failure, anyways. But I mean,
no.
he has he has wrestled, I think it was 4 or 5 matches since 2020. He's lost 4.
So, and
he's just a draw.
Yep.
For S&Gs, and
it's
all for Saudi
and give them money on the. He's a good ticket seller.
Yep.
His merch is a good seller.
Yep.
You got
that's the only thing moving.
You got those people out there that are hardcore Goldberg fans.
Oh yeah, I mean the only thing that's moving about Goldberg is his merch, because his in-ring is fucking terrible.
You know what? He's old. He's banged up.
I don't care.
You know what?
Truth can still do it.
You know what? R-Truth and Goldberg
are
two
still
different
acts like he's still in his damn 20s, and he looks like he's still in his 20s.
So the thing that I like about Goldberg, yes, he's a nostalgia act. Yes, he's an over-the-top muscle meathead. I genuinely think that I would like to see Goldberg's last ride be like a 3-match run. And if he wins a championship and drops it, so be it. I don't care if it's a 3-minute match. I don't care if it's a 7-minute match.
He beats Gunther. Seth goes in the next night and curb stomps his ass.
Fine. Whatever. I did see a post that said that Big E wanted to be Goldberg's last match, and since we're not getting that because of Big E's injury, just make it ridiculous, make it fun, make it humorous, make it a parody of what you expect WWE to do. Make Goldberg's run just a rib on fans. Yeah.
So we're gonna see Gunther. We're gonna see Gunther spear Goldberg and give him a jackhammer.
And then Goldberg still finds a way to win within 5 minutes. I mean,
Gunther did say he has a couple minutes.
On fans. Give me Goldberg winning a match and just making it like the most ludicrous way. Like Gunther
Yeah.
misses, a chop and he hurts himself. Goldberg hits a spear and a jackhammer and he wins. I mean, I wanted to annoy like that fan base that thinks Goldberg is old. He shouldn't be in the ring. He shouldn't be doing it. When last year Sting in his 60s was jumping off of ladders through a table.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and
So,
the thing is too is that like there's a lot of chatter, online. Like a lot of my Instagram reel is all like
Mhm.
WWE stuff, and basically how ridiculous it is that we have talent stacked as far as the eye can see, and we get Goldberg.
You know,
And if it's his last match, because his shirt literally said his last ride, so like I hope that this is just the last time we see Mister bang his head and crack his head open.
you know what?
Like
Yeah.
if
Okay.
if this is truly the last, I'm
Mhm.
fine with it, and be done with it and ride off into the sunset. Let's see your son in 5 years, and I'll be okay with life. Okay.
You know what? Whether it's one match, three matches, you know what? It goes to SummerSlam. You know what? I want it to be a rib on the fans that think Goldberg shouldn't get his flowers or
Right.
that Goldberg is too old. Because one, I do believe Goldberg should get his flowers. I do believe that Goldberg, even though he's an older athlete, that he can still have a competent match. And I know the fact that he would want to go out in a way that could set up his son
Yeah.
in a number of years. Um, by the way, I don't we all remember his son being the chubby little, kid when he first came in. It was like, and then he hits this amazing growth spurt and he looks like an Adonis, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's your dad pushing you in the gym or genetics or both, but damn,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like, you know, it's amazing. So yeah, whatever we get, I'm here for it. Good for Goldberg, right off in the sunset, how you
Yeah.
want. He said he wanted one last match, with the last regime. Yeah, but
Let it ride.
yep, let it ride. We've got, because then it's one less legend or veteran that we have to
Worry about
have
coming back.
interrupt, people, just like the same clamoring that I was mentioning about CM Punk getting put over versus newer talent. So it's one less of that we have to do with. Now we can
Yeah.
get the Carmelo Hayeses and the
Yeah.
Andrades and the Aleister Blacks and the Rusevs back in the mix and, building them up to be world champions. So yeah.
So SmackDown ends with honestly absolute humor, absolute trolling by one CM Punk. Punk, I thought it was
Drug-free.
honestly hilarious. I honestly like, I've seen a lot of people like try to use someone's entrance music and a lot of times it's a bust. But what CM Punk did, and he honestly looked like 10 years younger. and it was funny. John Cena said his stuff for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Thugonomics hits, and CM Punk does some cheesy bars, but honestly, it just spoke to, I feel like this was CM Punk just having fun.
Oh, it was.
And John Cena had to have been like really trying to keep a straight face, during that segment. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was just very tongue in cheek, just kind of CM Punk just playing off the Doctor of Thugonomics. So very interesting. Now,
I just love how I love the whole Drake part at the end.
oh my gosh. Oh, that, I'd chalk it up, man. That was good stuff.
That one
So,
was good. That part was good, and I like the part like, yeah, I would want to retire too, and they rehired my ex.
yeah, I mean,
Oh, I might
yeah.
have to like watch that.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
good.
If you get a chance to watch it, dude, that is
Wow.
it was pretty tough.
I
Now,
mean,
so
yeah.
Night of Champions was very mid for me. And
I've
not
heard
because
that a lot.
not because of the matches they had, but because of the PLE is called Night of Champions. Now, we talked about beforehand the last time they did Night of Champions, they had 7 matches and 5 of them were championship matches. Now, this Night of Champions, 2 years later, we have 6 matches and only 2 were championship matches. Now, I know the King and Queen of the Ring was this, under the impression of them basically winning to get a SummerSlam match from someone from their perspective brand, but they could have easily had those at SmackDown. Now, SmackDown had 3 championship matches, and that was just SmackDown. And yet, Night of Champions had 2. And if they would have flip flopped and had those 3 championship matches that were on SmackDown be on the PLE, I wouldn't have called this PLE mid because I would have called it what it was supposed to be representing, which is champions. But they flipped it, and it's kind of sad when Friday Night SmackDown really over trumps the actual PLE the next day. Now, there were like the matches were good at Night of Champions, but they weren't great. Like it just didn't do it for me. And I'm watching it and I'm kind of like, okay, well, kind of seeing that one coming. Like, and then you have two matches that are just there. Like you could have easily had Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn at SmackDown. I mean, you're in the same arena. Like, my point being is that it's Night of Champions, so you should have champions. Because I'm sorry, like, I mean, Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross was a good match, but it wasn't like something that was worthy of a PLE. But I digress.
I don't know. WWE needs to do a lot more with Karrion Kross because he's a good talent. You could see all the fans cheering him, his merch, his salad. You see it in the audience. People are asking for him, but WWE just doesn't listen. They need to push him a lot more. He is a good talent. He's great in the ring. He got good mic skills.
I would not be surprised if this is all with how they're using Karrion Kross, if it is not how they want to rebuild him after Final Testament, after his first release, and the change in regime that I talk about from the McMahon era to the TKO era. I would have to say if he's patient with it and he understands what they're doing, and this is a grassroots building of someone, then I think it's working because it's not unlike what we've seen with other grassroots talent. Like, I didn't get Sami Zayn when he was in NXT. I thought he was at best a lovable loser. But the more I watched Sami Zayn and seen some of the backstage interviews and documentaries and insights on his character, and I started to understand he's like, sometimes you can work really really hard at your goal and still not get it, and that's okay in life. You
Yeah.
know, you know, that's what I take from Sami Zayn, and I'm okay with him falling short, at times winning the big one, getting his first like world singles championship.
Yeah.
So maybe they're
And
trying
it'll
to just
happen.
yeah. And if he's carrying Cross is already re-signed or whatever have you, or I don't know. Um, so it's up to him,
Yeah.
but you're right, Tim, that there is like a lot of people based upon his own admissions and what he's been posting online that are really like pushing to have him more on television and to have him more performing, because when he can perform in ring, there's no doubt about that. Or they wouldn't have signed him, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Karen Cross.
You know what,
I love this new version of him.
yeah, so let's see what the rest of this year looks like, and does he make it off of main event? Does he make it out of the backstage and he's on in ring wrestling every week? There's just so many other things that are like
It's
getting
and we'll
pushes
see.
over him.
Yeah, and we'll obviously see what happens. Hopefully they do something. Now, tonight of champions, so the kickoff, we get Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, and again a good straight up match. Um, I hope Randy Orton didn't genuinely hurt his back, but
Same.
but if you kind of watch a little bit of it, you can see that we might get a black hair Cody Rhodes. We might get a Randy Orton full blown heel turn. There was a lot of small little tidbits in this match and in the aftermath of the match when Cody won. So it's going to be interesting because now that we know we're going to have Cody Rhodes and John Cena at SummerSlam, we have something to build. And I think Cody getting frustrated and slipping back into the black slick back and the more TNA, the more Ring of Honor Cody Rhodes, I would love to have back. Just because I want to see heel Cody versus heel John Cena. Two people that are going to have a match that they don't care what happens to the other person kind of matchup. But we obviously are going to come out, probably Friday. We're going to probably have Cody come out, and spit some words. And then the following week, we get some response from John Cena, is my assumption. It's usually the recipe. But, we'll see how this develops. I really hope that these are just small seeds planted for a heel Cody. So now, again, to another match that did not belong on this card because it's Night of Champions and they weren't anything. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. And I take nothing away from this match. It was a great match.
It was an awesome match. They both put on a great show.
And I chalk it up to, these super experienced refs that have been doing this for decades. There was spots in the ring where he was kind of holding things. He held a table at one point. He held the steps from not falling on Raquel Rodriguez at one point. And so it's the little things that these refs do that makes them as good as you think they are. They're worried about the safety of the people that are wrestling. And I really do honestly give a shout out. I think it was Charles Robinson, I believe. But very, very veteran status referee. But
that
yeah,
dude could run.
Can also bump.
Yeah. And so But yeah, obviously Rhea wins this bout. Um, you know, I mean, I thought it was a good match. Now, other sources have given it a C plus. Um, but I'm definitely more of a B plus on this match. But we'll see what becomes of the aftermath of this. And I think that's what a lot of it comes down to is like when you have this all-inclusive match of like, it's gotten to this point, we're going to have this kind of match. Are we going to get anything more from these two? Being, we're still undecided, of the tag team partner of Raquel Rodriguez right now, which obviously we're leaning towards Roxanne Perez, but we still
That's what
don't
I
have
think it will be.
but we still don't have any definitive answers. Maybe we'll get those, this week. That is the hope.
I'm gonna say they would give it to her, and then I think it would be smart to give it to her because when Liv Morgan gets heals up and comes back, I think it'd be a good feud.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's my title. You need to give it back.
yeah, as long as the creative does it right. Well, and I don't think they're going to be champions when Liv comes back anyways, because she's going to be out for 4 to 6 months. So like, I definitely think a little bit of downfall will become of Judgment Day in this 4 to 6 months. It'll either be displacement of members or, they're not going to add anymore. But I feel like this is a good time for the Judgment Day to fall apart. So, because they've been working towards this, and Liv Morgan's actual injury is kind of a perfectly imperfect spot to start seeing the cracks in Judgment Day, and maybe we see a mild dismantling of the group. But maybe they'll stay strong. I don't know. They always seem to have these weird angles where it's like shit has hit the fan with these guys. But no, we're good. So I mean, will they survive without Liv Morgan? I
This
don't
is
see
what
it.
this is what I think. I think they will be okay and they'll all come around to Roxanne Perez, and Roxanne Perez will pull a Liv Morgan like Liv Morgan did to Rhea Ripley.
That's fair.
And then that'll start a feud with Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. And then that could implode the group. I don't see the group lasting past December of this year. I really don't.
And it needs to dismantle. I mean, we got way too much bloodline for anyone's liking. Obviously, it was a draw because it was like they're doing heel things, but they're so over it's ridiculous. But like when the bloodline dismantled, we're like, finally.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to give a sigh of relief for Judgment Day to dismantle. Now, I honestly think Judgment Day 2.0 was probably the best it could have been when it was Rhea and Damian with the group, just because Rhea and Damian are draws. They are pullers. They are needle movers. And, without them, they're just kind of mid. They're a mid heel faction. I mean, they do midish card things. They do mildly obnoxious things, and they've survived thus far. But I feel like the dismantling needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Finn needs to leave.
Sometimes you have to just trim the fat, and I feel like we've gotten to that point with Judgment Day where we're kind of like, okay, you guys can just be done. But I feel like, again, with the Liv Morgan actual injury, I feel like this is a good opportunity to fast track that. So, So we get Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. And it was a good match until it wasn't.
Typical Solo Sikoa matches.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like as much as I hate the trope of how this went, I thought it was kind of justifiable to put over Solo just because it was like, this is the repercussions you get for leaving. And if you look at it from that perspective versus like Bloodline 2.0, like if you take out the Bloodline aspect of it and you just take it as they were a group, they were a faction, they were together, you know, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu, they were this dominant group. And, you know, much like kind of a gang mentality, like if you leave the group, you're going to get your comeuppance. And obviously we get the emergence of Hikuleo. We had Tangaloa come back. And so like we had all these comebacks. Now my confusion is, where does JC Mateo fit?
Oh, the
It's-
muscle, the heavy. I like Jeff Cobb has always been I think an underused but greatly recognized talent in the ring. He can carry a good match.
He definitely can.
Yeah, and he's got a size and a look that says, yeah, you can be a world champion threat.
I mean, he's definitely has kind of a Ryback-ish build, you know, where it's like, I don't have to do a whole lot. I just have to do what I do.
And he can do a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know.
And so I it's just now that you just Bloodline 2.0 is just now Bloodline 3.0 essentially. And it's
pretty much,
it's the waters are getting kind of muddy. And I feel like I did not need Tangaloa to come back. I wish, like I've said before, is I wish that Tangaloa and Tama Tonga like just did their own thing. You know, maybe they went to Raw or something and they just did tag team stuff because they have a history of being a phenomenal tag team, and them just kind of being in the background isn't doing anybody any good.
You know, let's get a stacked a stacked Bloodline feud. Let's you know what? Let's have every couple of years we just have this Bloodline feud. And we just like interchange the people, parts, groups, and just let them have fun.
So you're talking like basically we're gonna get another Survivor Series War Games match.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be, and it might be for all intents purposes, you know, the Bloodline 3.0 versus Jacob Fatu, the Usos, maybe Sami Zayn, something of that caliber.
Yeah.
Where it's good television.
Yep.
Let's say
it's compelling. You know, it's compelling because now instead of the drama of the Ulafala, maybe it's the drama of, you know, what makes a Bloodline member. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, because JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobb, is not Bloodline related to the Bloodline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not even like the Tongans are like that, you know. Yeah. So but
it's a good mesh though. Like
it is,
you know, because Jeff Cobb is still a Pacific Islander, but he's just not.
He's not. You know, he's not related to the NOI family, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him any less like Samoan or Pacific Islander or anything like that. So I would not be surprised if we do get something like that.
They're all pretty much from the same island.
Yeah.
Just different parts of the island.
Yeah. Right. So, you know, at this particular point, so what? You know,
Right.
I,
Well,
just throw him
the
out.
thing is, he still fits the build though. So like,
Right. Yeah. It's like,
you know,
oh, so
we
I
don't
mean,
need to
if
nickel and dime him for
right,
the
if
background.
Sami Zayn can be in that match, so can JC Mateo. I mean,
Right.
just
He's an honorary Oos, man. They need to
yeah.
get him
So
a shirt. JC Cobb.
yeah, so I'm not mad at it. Let's have another Samoan Survivor Series. Okay. Let's
And
just
I'm
call it
okay with that because, like, honestly, like, otherwise it would just be some thrown together teams. So I feel
Yeah.
like if this is just a good starting point to see another War Games match with a bunch of crazy Samoans and Pacific Islanders, run it.
Yeah.
And maybe
100%.
maybe they come out on top this time.
Maybe.
And so then maybe we get this group faction just really pushed again, and maybe we see them with a bunch of gold, in the next year and a half, and maybe we get just that we're damn dominant, and if you don't like it, here's the table. Ask Paul Heyman how a table feels. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Yeah. There's so many
So-
ways that it could go down. So so whatever, I'm okay with watching this play out, because now it's not, a Roman Reigns led thing, and it won't be. Now it's like a little brother, which in Solo Sikoa, trying to up his older brothers and an older cousin. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and it,
So I'm all for it. Bring it on.
yeah,
Because it's not shoved down our throat. But it's a good television segment. It doesn't overtake the show like the Bloodline did. But
yeah.
I digress. We digress. So Jade Cargill versus Asuka to crown the Queen of the Ring.
I love Jade's outfit. Dressed as Storm.
Yeah, that was
one of my favorite X-Men characters.
So we get Jade Cargill defeating Asuka and winning Queen of the Ring. However, the ending was a little bit questionable. In the fact that Asuka did have her arm up off the mat. And it was kind of a oopsie. I won't say the BR word, but like, on her part, they could have redone it and had it done correct, but they didn't. And so like it was an oopsie.
It was kind of the same way with Gunter and Orton that one year.
And maybe we get Asuka pointing that out. Maybe we get another Asuka and Jade Cargill match at Evolution, maybe. And maybe Asuka's like,
nice.
You didn't pin me. You know what I'm saying? So like maybe this is just a run back. Maybe we get that. Maybe we get Asuka saying, hey, you didn't pin me, and then you have to beat me a second time to earn that. And maybe we get that. I feel like that'd be a good story, just because that'd be good to run this match back, because it was a good match.
Oh, it was.
So, you have a technical wrestler versus a strong wrestler, and I think that would be a good story to be like, hey, you didn't pin me. So, but, we'll see what they do with it. So John Cena, CM Punk. Man, if any time a parade was not wanted, it was this match. Like, it was just flooded with nonsensical BS. A potential cash.
That's how you really feel, Seth.
That's why I'm
Don't
saying
ask me.
that's why I'm saying it slow. I don't want to blurt it all at once, but like, this match was a clusterfuck. And whatever with John Cena winning, but like, I kind of would have liked to see Seth cash in.
Oh, me too. That the way he slowly came out, slowly walked, made it known that he's there, and all that. It was just great. It was perfect.
And I thought this would have been a fun cash in. Nowhere near the caliber as the heist of the century, but like just a proverbial middle finger to not only CM Punk but John Cena to cash in.
I
You
like
know,
I like what John Cena's like. Not now, not my time. No,
yeah, but I mean, obviously, we get John Cena winning, but I mean,
winning because of
yeah,
Seth's help
yeah, I
with a little
mean,
curb stomp.
It
it
still
was,
keeps CM Punk strong. It still keeps an argument for a rematch between CM Punk and John Cena down
yeah,
the road.
it,
Maybe we'll get that epic, triple threat match for the championship, the undisputed championship, or maybe just, or maybe not. But I
yeah,
think that it works. But can we just get a shout out to the ref who was running down the ring?
I think that was actually Charles Robinson. I
Yeah,
misquoted the
Yeah,
first ref, but
when he ran down at WrestleMania
that was
24,
clutch.
and that was like the biggest entranceway ramp
was
that
that
ever booked.
was that was that still a Seth Rollins match that he ran down for?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, let me
what-
look.
Man, someone look it up because
yeah.
no, that stuff was wild though. Like that boy was booking down. So, but yeah, no, it was such a befuddled clusterfuck of a match that it was too cliche for me. But who was the ref? That is the $1,000,000 question. I'm pretty sure it was Charles Robinson, but now we have to do some research. Clickety
Yep,
clack,
I'm trying my best.
clickety clack, clickety clack.
Fun fact about Charles Robinson, he's also the guy who supervises the setting up and taking down of the ring.
Oh yes,
Yep.
he is smart as a whip.
Uh,
The guy
well-
puts in the work.
Well, when you are learning from Ric Flair and everybody great in that era, I guess that happens.
Yeah, it was Charles Robinson, but John Cena laid him out. And what's crazy is that like I just searched Charles and it literally already put Robinson running. So he's trending.
So I think it was Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania 24. Is that what it was?
Yes.
2008 Florida Citrus Bowl. Main event matches.
Yeah.
Dude,
He was it was the Undertaker and Edge.
Yep.
Undertaker and Edge. Okay.
Yeah. He was like sprinting. Yeah, that was like I think that was Hollywood, wasn't it? I think.
No.
I don't know. Anyways, but we shall put a pin in this. And we'll definitely see what becomes of the King and Queen of the Ring champions this week. We'll see what Seth Rollins has to say about getting his cash in thwarted. I hope we get some kind of response from Randy Orton in regards to the match. But, we will play the wait and see game as we do. And we will see you guys next week. This is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.